Hey, gang, coming up on our Finding Better podcast, Happy New Year 2026. It's all about making this new year your best year ever, and we can do it. We can do it. I'm talking about three different things that you can do. And the idea is that if you just pick one of them, let alone all three of them, I believe you will have no question the best year you've ever had in your life. And it's just about keeping going. The fact of the matter is, Christmas this year and New Year's Eve is going to happen whether we do anything or not. So the idea is we might as well make the best of it, right? If the time's going to go by and we're going to be a year older, let's do something with it. It's all about choices. It's all about making it happen. It's all about empowering you, and we can do it. Okay? So sit back, enjoy. Here we go. All right. Hello, 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 and Happy New Year 2026. My name is John Suzuki, and welcome to our Finding Better podcast. This is where we share real life experiences of people who've been there and done that and finding better in whatever it is we're talking about, whether it be better relationships, better money, better health, better all kinds of things, right? Because I have found that sometimes the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of others who have been there and done that. And so today we're going to talk about 2026. It's our New Year's episode. It's the middle of January, but I figured, you know what? About this time, you might have already started to embark on your path down the road of your New Year's resolutions. You might have gone to a gym and worked out really, 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 really hard, and then woke up a couple of days later going, oh my gosh, I can't continue to do this. And I wanted to talk with you just about some things with regards to 2026. And I believe that this year can be absolutely positively the best year that we have ever lived. On the other hand, it can be the worst year, right? Because whatever goes up's got to come down, and black and white and right and wrong and all that kind of stuff, right? So for me, the big question is, how do we make this the best year ever for you and for me, right? Now, before we get there, I wanted to thank you. I wanted to thank you for being here, right? And I wanted to thank you for subscribing to our Finding Better podcast. This is my third year on this. I'm approaching episode 200, and it is amazing. I started off 2 years ago thinking, you know what? It would be great if I had 10 subscribers. It would be wonderful. And, just because this is a podcast about giving back. I don't want anything from you. I don't want to sell you anything. I just want to give you the best of myself and the best of my guests so that perhaps we can give you some ideas from our experiences that may help you live the better life you want to live. I have lived an amazing life. I would not trade my life to anyone at all, ever. And I've just been blessed that way. And ever since I can remember, since I was a kid, I've pretty much led a good life. And what I mean by that is, not the good life of parties and fast women and, and fast cars and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean living a good life. And sometimes it's hard to live a good life. It's hard to stay on track with what you think is right. And there's so many different things out there, so many different forces that are pulling us away from who we are. And, you know, it's overcoming and it's really living true to yourself that I want to talk with you about today. And just three different, uh, relatively simple things that you can do. If you pick one of them to do this year, it'll change your life. It'll change your life. And so the thing that I'd like you to think about, that I think about at this time of the year, is who do I want to become this year? Who do you want to become? Right? Time is going to go by whether we like it or not. Hopefully, right? If it doesn't go by whether we like it or not, we're dead. So time is going to go on and it's going to go by whether we like it or not. So the question is, if you had some control over that time and you could choose what you want to be at the end of this year and look back, take your life forward a year to Christmas And imagine yourself looking back on 2026. What do you want to see? What do you want to have accomplished? And what do you want your journey to have looked like? Because we can make that happen right now. Okay. And so, the fact of the matter is, it's all about choices. It's all about decisions that we make. Your life at the end of this year, and yell at me if I'm wrong, but your life at the end of this year will be the product of the choices you make between now and the end of the year, right? And you have the choice. It is the most exciting thing that I realized one day is that regardless of how miserable I was, and I was miserable at the time I came to this realization, it's your choice to be where you are. Now, you might say, oh, no, it's not my choice. It's somebody else's fault, or my circumstances are such that I can't, there's nothing I could do. It is your choice. And I will tell you that when you really internalize that, not only realize it, but internalize it, it can become the most empowering moment of your life, as it was mine. Because no matter how miserable I was miserable at my job, I was miserable with my boss, I was doing very well, but I was miserable with the life I was living. I was miserable with the rat race. Just waking up every day doing the same thing and I just didn't see an end to it. And one day I'm driving down the road and I realized, you know what? As bad as this is, I had a mortgage. I had two small kids that I had to support, a mortgage that I had to pay. I was stuck, and I had all these other things going on in my life. And one day I realized that that mortgage, my kids, everything was my life, but how I chose to approach it and how I chose to look at it was my choice. And once I came to that realization, all of a sudden I could choose. I realized I could choose to leave that job, and I did. I could choose to leave and move out of that environment, and I did. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it was scary. But when I realized that it was my choice to be there, all of a sudden everything changed. And my hope is that maybe sometime this year, if you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like you're in a place where you don't have a choice, if you feel like you're in a place that your circumstances are so bad that you're imprisoned where you are, my hope and prayer for you is that maybe someday this year you'll think back on this and you'll go, you know what? Yeah, I am choosing to be here. I am choosing to be in this really bad environment. That this book right here called American Grit, I'm not here to sell you the book, okay? In fact, you can go to johnsuzuki.com and you can download the book for free. Okay? So I'm not here to sell you the book, but it is an incredible story about young men who volunteered out of the Japanese American concentration camps during World War II right here in the United States. Yes, we had camps here. And people were 200,000 people of Japanese ancestry, two-thirds of whom were Americans and 50% of whom were children. Children were thrown into these camps scattered all over the deserts and swamps of America and thrown in these camps for no other reason than the way they looked. The Japanese had attacked Pearl Harbor, and all of a sudden the fear on the West Coast became so great that they decided to throw all these people of Japanese ancestry into concentration camps. It was crazy. It was really sad. And all these people, they lost their homes, they lost their businesses, they lost their farms. They were thrown out of they were taken out of school, thrown into these camps surrounded by barbed wire, into these small shacks. They wouldn't even justify as a shack today. And they had no due process. They weren't accused of any crime, and there they were. And you know, a whole lot of people said that's not fair. Whole lot of people said, that we're blaming the government, we're blaming other people in other circumstances. But a few thousand of these of these Japanese Americans, young Japanese American men, volunteered to fight and die for the United States Army, the same United States Army that put them and their families in those camps to begin with, and the same U.S. Army that kept their families in those camps while these young men went off to war and many of them died. Now you sit there and you go, why would anybody, I did, why would anybody volunteer? There's no way in hell I would do that. And yet these men did. They didn't blame anybody for their circumstances. They took responsibility for their own lives. And people ask me, how can they take responsibility for something they had nothing to do with? I'm not saying they took responsibility for what happened to them. They took responsibility for their own lives. And they decided that the best way to get them and their families out of these camps was to prove their loyalty to the United States of America. So they joined the Army and they became part of a segregated war unit of Japanese Americans called the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. The 442nd, check this out, went on to become the most decorated war unit in the United States in the history of this country for its size and duration. And many of the men came from these camps. Isn't that incredible? I had previously heard about the camps. I had heard about the 442nd, but I never knew that there were men who volunteered out of these camps to fight in the 442nd for the United States of America. They did not blame anybody. They empowered themselves, right? They refused to be victims. And they chose. They chose. It was their choice. They could have stayed back. They could have stayed back and maybe they would have been drafted, but they could have stayed back and chosen not to, but they chose to fight for the United States Army. Unbelievable story. And so I'm not saying that you need to make those kinds of choices, those big kinds of choices. I mean, those decisions that those young men made defined the rest of their lives. And they went on, those who survived and came back to the United States. Yes, of course, there was PTSD, but they paved the path, not only for Japanese Americans moving forward, but for every American. And one of my passions in my life in writing this book is to make sure that this chapter in history doesn't happen again. Can it happen again? Can concentration camps come back again? Yes, they can. Absolutely. And I think they probably will someday. Somebody, and I'm not talking about prisons. I'm talking about concentration camps where people are gathered up because of some common thing that they have, and without having committed any crime whatsoever, they and their families and everybody around them are thrown into these camps. I never want that to happen again to any American in this country. So, my point to this is that it's your choice. It's your choice. And if you want to be inspired, download that book. It's also an Amazon bestseller, I'm proud to say. And it's just a wonderful thing. So three little things I'd like for you to think about that I've picked up. This podcast, I didn't tell you, did I tell you that my hope was to get 10 subscribers? I got over 3,000 subscribers now. It's crazy. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. And I've had amazing guests. And I just want to share a few things with you that might make a difference as you're thinking about your plans for the new year. Okay? First of all, as I said, know that your life is your choice. That's number one. Okay? You can choose to change it. You can choose to stay where you are. But understand this. Whatever you do is your decision. No decision is a decision. Okay? So if you like where you are, that's great. But if you don't like where you are, do something about it. You know the old saying that says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Now, if you love where you are, keep doing what you're doing. If you don't love where you are, do something different. Okay. And keep listening to this podcast because we give you all kinds of things that you can be doing differently. You can empower yourself or disempower yourself. You can take action or you can give up, right? You can say that you can or you can say that you can't. And either way, whether you say you can or say you can't, you're right. Okay. And you can choose to fill your mind with fuel or crap. What do I mean by that? You know, you know, there's a lot of crap out there, isn't there? I mean, just look to social media and all these what I call messages of inadequacy that you're being bombarded with of you're not good enough or you're too skinny or you're too fat or you're too ugly or you're too whatever. You're too old, you know? And you can choose to accept it or you can choose to reject it. There's stuff that come out at you that empower you, that inspire you. That's fuel. That's fuel. Learn that stuff. Bring that stuff into your life. All the other crap, it's your choice as to whether you accept it or not. You know, uh, like I said, I'm not strong enough. You feel that way. I have a bad back. I feel that way. I'm too old. I definitely feel that way. Um, all of these, all this self-talk that we even have, set aside the messages that are coming to us. I've got this stuff going rattling around in my head. And you know what? I realized I need to turn that language around. When I say to myself, I'm too old for this, I am not too old for anything. I can keep up with my grandkids. Okay. I'm not too old for anything. I'm not strong enough. Well, you know what? If I'm not strong enough, I'll go out and get strong enough. That's my choice, right? I've got a bad back. I had a chronic bad back for years and years and years. And just last year, I chose to fix it. And I did. How did I do it? I stretch every morning and I stretch every night. And I'm not talking about painful stretching. I'm talking about stretching of your back that feels really, really good. And over time, it relaxes your back, right? I don't have back pain anymore. It's amazing because I chose to do something about it. Okay? I need to eat better, but I can't. Really? Really? Think about your thinking. And I'm too big. I'm too small. Like I said, I'm too fat. I'm too skinny, right? We live in a country where you can do anything you want. It's up to you. Goes back to that choice. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you're telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm not whatever. It's amazing how the world comes to you and confirms it, right? Says, yeah, you know what, John? Yeah, you're not strong enough. You're not strong enough to go mountain climbing. You're not fast enough to run a marathon. You're not good enough for that job. Yeah, you're right, John, you're not. It's amazing, right? And it's even more amazing when a lot of times you'll go out there and you'll tell folks, I want to run a marathon and I want to run a triathlon or I want to buy a new car. And how many people, when you come up with some of this stuff, say, "Are you kidding me, John? You can't do that. That's just not, you want to go to work for a Fortune 500 company. You want to make $150,000 a year. No, you can't do that, right? It's your choice to listen to that stuff. It's your choice to listen to that crap. You can listen to people who will empower you, or you can listen to people who will disempower you. Your choice. Okay. And here's something for you to do. If you ever come across, and I got this from a real good friend of mine, Chris Hodges. He said, if you have some of these disempowering statements or self-talk that says, I'm not good enough, just add the word yet to it. I'm not good enough yet. I'm not strong enough yet. I don't have enough money yet. Right? And then go do something about it. And here's the last thing that I'll tell you. Nothing great happens overnight. You know, we're a society of instant gratification, aren't we? You decide you want to get in shape, so you go to the gym and you work out, work out, work out. You eat a couple salads, and then you go, "Oh man, this is too hard." Right? Because you're not seeing the instant results. Here's the thing. Great things happen over time. And consider this. If you were to improve yourself 1% a day, 1% a day, at the end of 365 days, how much of an improvement will you have made? It's not 365%. Okay. If you do this 1% a day, and then tomorrow build upon that 1%, then build upon that 1%, you will have improved yourself 3,678%. What does that mean? That means not just 3.65 times, but you will have improved yourself 36.78 times. I think I got that math right. But a lot. Okay. And that's just 1% a day. So if you could just do something, make decisions that make your life 1% a day better, at the end of the year, you're not going to believe what happens, but you can't give up. And you have to want it. And you have to have faith. And you have to believe that it can happen. Okay? But here's the thing. Christmas and New Year's are going to come whether you like it or not. The only question is, what are you going to do between now and then to make your life better? So choose. Choose wisely. Choose for the good. Choose for you. Don't choose for everybody else who wants you to be who they want you to be. Be the person you want to be. Choose. Number two, we're going into a brand new world. We are already in a brand new world. It's called the world of artificial intelligence. And whether you like it or not, our lives are going to be turned upside down. In some ways, they already have. Okay? Consider this. 4 years ago, 4 years ago, there were a whole bunch of young people that graduated from high school and went into college for their computer sciences degrees, for their programming degrees, right? 4 years ago. These people, 4 years later, are now graduating from college with their computer science degree, thinking, they were thinking that they're going to work for Google or Apple or Amazon or Meta. And they're graduating today and they have their diploma in their hand. They're going, where is everybody? Because of artificial intelligence, okay? Big companies are not hiring junior people anymore. That's just the reality of what we're dealing with. And so you go, well, you know what? That's not me. That's not me. Yeah, I'm not one of those people. Well, consider this. You're going to see this happen really, really fast. Okay. I drive a Tesla and I happen to drive a self-driving Tesla. Did you realize that, I'm saying conservatively, maybe sometime next year, maybe sometime this year, I'll be able to drive that car, have that car take me to the airport, and then I'll be able to send it home. Okay. I'll be able to use that car and sign that car up so that during the times that I'm not using it, it can go out and become a driverless taxi cab. And so when these driverless cars become a normal thing, what's going to happen to taxi drivers? What's going to happen to Uber and Lyft drivers? Right? You think they're going to be affected? There's no question they're going to be affected. And these cars are already driving our streets. So I've heard time and time and time again, people say, yeah, my job's not going to be affected. Okay. Even the trades, even the trades. Well, guess what? Humanoid robots are now being sold. They're now being offered. You can order them. And the dexterity in these robots is getting better and better and better and better. These things are more flexible than humans are. So I don't know where the world is going to take us, but people ask me all the time, John, what should I be doing? What should I be? And I've had friends who have been out of work for a year, unbelievably smart people who just don't know what's going on. And I tell them, here's, I'll tell you what I tell my own kids. The greatest muscle that you can build in your body and in your mind is a muscle of being scrappy. Okay? There are many companies out there, big companies, who aren't even hiring people, who are opting to hire out of high school and opting to hire high school dropouts because they're looking for certain skills that people have. And the whole idea of having a diploma um, isn't as valuable as it used to be. And so to me, the whole idea is learn to be scrappy. Now, how do you learn to be scrappy? What does that mean? You know, my kids are really scrappy. They can take a situation and they can look at the situation and go, okay, how can I monetize this? How can I make this better? How can I do things that will be much more productive? They're always looking at stuff and figuring out, okay, where's the opportunity in this? You can look at the world as a glass half empty or a glass half full. I tend to look at it as a glass half full because I see opportunity everywhere. And the way that you become scrappy, if you will, is you free yourself and let yourself be curious. Curious. Now, what curiosity is a curious thing, right? Who are the most curious people on planet Earth? Kids. Kids are. And yet by the time we get to our adulthood, the world has battered our curiosity out of our lives. And why is that? Well, because of things like that was a dumb question, or that was stupid, or you're not good enough. You'll never be good enough. Why are you doing that? You're driving me crazy. And one of the cutest things and one of the most annoying things is when kids will say, you'll tell them something, they'll go, why? And you'll tell them, they'll go, why? They'll go, why? Right? Part of that might be because they're annoying you, but part of it might be because they're being curious. And then we turn around and say, stop it. Stop asking that question. You're annoying the heck out of me. Well, pack right outside, right, snapping right outside your face, right outside your head. Stop being so curious. So give yourself permission to be curious. Ask questions, right? When you're talking to people, ask them, what a very good friend of mine told me that my superpower is my ability to ask questions nobody else wants to ask and to say things nobody else wants to say. And I remember asking him, his name is Aman. I said, Aman, that's a weird superpower. And he goes, well, that's what I see in you. And I thought about it for months. And then I realized that asking questions and saying the things really is a gift, really is a gift. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I am not afraid to say the things that I think need to be said. And so, you know, be curious. Let yourself be curious. Another one, you know, curiosity killed the cat. What kind of message does that send your brain? Don't be curious, right? I invite you, I ask you to consider opening opening up those blinders and becoming a curious human being. It's from that curiosity that you're going to be able to say, I wonder what would happen if I did this. I wonder what would happen if I did that. I wonder what that guy's doing over there that I might be able to replicate, right? And then from there, you can look at things differently because as we move forward, as taxi driver jobs go away, as Uber jobs go away, as long haul truck driving jobs go away. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but just think about it. Okay? We're moving into a world that's going to become very messy very, very quickly. Now, if you consider us being here and the end of this AI revolution being here, if we survive it, it's going to be really cool, I think. But the question is, what's going to happen between now and then? We all call it the messy middle, right? So the question you have to prepare yourself for is what are you going to do when it happens to you? And to me, one great way, I won't say it's the best way, but one great way to get ready is to start looking around and to start thinking about your options because nobody knows what our world's going to look like in 5, 10, let alone 2 years. Nobody knows. And so it's up to us, it's up to you, it's up to you and me individually and together to keep our eyes open, to look for new opportunities that we don't even know are going to happen. Okay? So you can look at it as being a really scary time or a really bad time, but you can also look at it like I do with a whole lot of hope because there's going to be opportunities out there that do not exist today. And it's going to be pretty cool. But those opportunities are going to go to those people who become curious and become scrappy. Okay? Don't get yourself caught on this one mode of operation. You don't want to do that. You want to have 50 modes of operation. So this year, I invite you to maybe come up with 5. Okay? Who knows what's going to happen? The last thing I'd love for you to consider, if you're not doing this already, is to grow the muscle of gratitude. Learn to be grateful. You know, I'll tell you, gratitude is so, so important. A good friend of mine told me happiness is not about getting what you want. It's about being grateful for what you have. Let me repeat that. Repeat that. Happiness is not about getting what you want. It's about being grateful for what you have. You know, the world is a rat race, right? You're constantly going after the next thing. You get a new car, 2 weeks later, you want a new car. You get a new house, year later, you want a new house. You get that thing that you want. You got those beautiful new shoes. And then you wear them a couple of times and you want new shoes, right? And some of us get so obsessed with the next thing that we forget how excited we were to get the things we already have. And not only that, I mean, we've got so much abundance in our lives. If you're living in one of the Western cultures, the United States or Europe or certain parts of Asia, right? I mean, holy cow. Compare that to a third world country. Compare that to places where there is no plumbing, where there is no toilet paper. I don't mean to be gross, but where there is no running water or no electricity. Imagine, right? Where there you can't just go to the grocery store to pick up your food, and you certainly can't go someplace to have your food cooked for you fast. I mean, we have so much. I mean, I encourage you to just look around where you are right now, where you're sitting. That bookshelf, I am grateful for everything on that bookshelf. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for the electricity. I'm grateful for my computer and Zoom. I'm grateful for my cell phone. You have a cell phone. There's so much for, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for all the people who have been in my life. And right now we live in a world that is so divided. It's just bullshit. It really is. And it's going to take you and me, all of us, to make the world better. But I've always believed that if you lift one person, you really do lift the world. And so if we can come together and not be so mad at each other because of our political beliefs. The thing is, when you're thinking about somebody that makes you really, really angry, just understand that somewhere in that person is something going on that's a lot worse than anything you got going on in your life. You know, let me repeat that in a different way. Everybody you encounter, everybody in your life has something worse going on in their life than you've got going on in yours. And if we can just come to that understanding, maybe it'll be easier to be more patient, to be more understanding, to be more forgiving, because we don't know what's going on in people's lives. Even the worst people you know, even the best people you know, we have no idea what's going on in their lives, right? I give thanks every time I think of it, which is multiple times a day. And my thanks comes in the form of a 5 point gratitude prayer, if you will. I'm a Christian, but I'm not pushing my beliefs on you. I'm just telling you what I do. The 5 points is number one, God, thank you for you. Thank you for you. Thank you for being here, because if you weren't here, none of us would be. Number two, Lord, thank you for me. Thank you for my life. Number three, thank you for my wife of 40 years this year. Thank you for my kids. Thank you for my grandkids. Thank you for my whole family and all of my friends. Thank you, past, present, and future. Number four, thank you for my health. Because if I don't have my health, I can't do anything. And number five, and this is where my spirituality comes in, thank you for your angels, past, present, and future. Thank you for all of your angels, because I do believe, as you may too, that they're all around us. They're all around us. There are things that we can't see, things that we don't understand. But one thing I do believe from the bottom of my heart is that there are, call it spirits. It's the universe. It's all around us. So I give thanks for that. Now, do I give thanks for other things? Absolutely. But that's my five things. Thank you for you. Thank you for me. Thank you for my family and friends. Thank you for my health. And thank you for your angels. And it just makes me feel good. And it's just a big, big part of my life. So, you know, if you think of it, put a piece of paper and a pencil next to your bed. And every night when you go to bed, write down one thing you're thankful for. One thing you're thankful for that happened to you that day, or just anything. One thing that you're grateful for. And write one thing down every night. If you want to write more, you're free to. But if you do one thing more every night, at the end of the year, you'll have 365 things to look back on that you're thankful for. It's called a gratitude journal. And you can be as detailed or as comprehensive as you want. You can spend 30 seconds on it a night, or you can spend 30 minutes. But it's amazing. It's amazing what'll happen when you realize how much you have to be grateful for. So, for 2026, I want this to be the best year you've ever lived in your life. I want you to look back on 2026 at Christmas time or on New Year's Eve and say, oh my gosh, I killed it. And one of three ways you could do it. Number one, understand, and this is probably the most important thing, understand that everything in your life is your choice. You have the power to do something about it. Number two, open your eyes. Let yourself be curious. and get scrappy because the winners of this race that we're running right now in the world of artificial intelligence is going to go, I believe, from the bottom of my heart to those people who are the scrappiest of all. And number three, learn to be grateful. And if you already are grateful, learn to be more grateful. Okay. Okay. So with that, those my wish to you again is to have a wonderful, wonderful year, better relationships than you've ever had, better money that you've ever had, better careers that you've ever had, just better joy than you've ever had, and a better life than you've ever had. Okay. So with that, thank you. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you again for subscribing. Please feel free to share this. I love you. God bless you. Happy 2026. Here's to the best year ever. Your best year ever. Okay? See you next time. Bye.